Welcome to Producers Showcase. I'm your host Ingrid Hoffmeister, and today's program is travel and photography. The lens of the camera has provided us with a unique opportunity to travel all over the world to places that perhaps we would never really get a chance to visit. And our guests today are going to take us to some of those rather super-duper locations. And my first guest is Bob Bingham. Welcome, Bob. And I know you have your own little mantra, which is flying high in the sky. And we'll see later on what that really means. So thank you. And our next guest is Laura Parker. Laura Parker is a pretty hot shot, or we call her the happy snap shooter. She went on a fantastic holiday to Nepal and Kathmandu and is going to share that with us. And last but not least is Pete Fay. Pete, thank you for coming. He is a man of many talents and for the last decade has pretty much spent most of his time really traveling and taking photographs. And he said, 1 out of 100 is a keeper, and you know what? We're going to see some of those keepers today. So I want you to lie back, relax in the armchair, and come globe-trotting. Bob, we've just seen a few of your images, and I must say they were absolutely spectacular. Where did you take these photographs?
Well, my wife and I had an opportunity to go on a National Geographic trip around the world, and it was just an amazing trip. And that really kind of whet our appetite to realize that we could still go to some of these amazing locations. And we had the brilliant idea that we should maybe take the in-laws along. And so we've done 2 subsequent trips that were real similar to that trip. And so we really, in this just short amount of time, gone.
Well, the photographs we saw, and in fact, we're going to be showing a whole bunch more of your pictures from all around the world. Give us an idea what some of those trips were. What countries did you visit?
We went to Papua New Guinea, Cambodia, India. We went to Bhutan, which is an amazing
That's a popular place.
It seems to be now, yeah.
Yeah.
We were in Africa, went to a couple different spots in Africa, Namibia, Zambia, Tanzania. So we saw lots of lions, lots of giraffes, the Skeleton Coast, just an amazing array of locations.
So. And these were all with National Geographic?
Yeah, they were one of the tour providers, and they were the first one, and then with this company called TCS Expeditions, which is really doing their trips. Okay. Yeah.
Now, when you decide to take the photographs, when you've got so many places you're going, and I mean, I can just imagine that you're just having your camera strapped on, or I mean, maybe just taking them and not even looking through the lens. I mean, how do you decide with all these places, which are the right shots, which are the good shots? Because obviously you've selected some shots for our viewers to see today, which are very obviously photographs you think have done well.
Right. Again, you have to take a lot of images to get a good image, but when you're traveling with some of these locations, I mean, the pictures present themselves. You can't take a bad picture in Papua New Guinea. I mean, there's just it's so different than our everyday life here in Southern California.
So when you say you can't take a bad picture, is it the type of camera that you're using, or is it just today we are so, digital cameras, everyone can be a good photographer? Is that what you're pretty much saying if you're in the right location?
Well, I think the cameras have come a long way. I think you can take a lot of great photos without a lot of high-tech equipment. But the real truth of the matter is at the end of the day, having the quality camera makes a quality image. So
right. So when you're traveling to these far-off locations that present themselves, the nature and the environment and the colors are so spectacular, as you're saying, that each image really happens naturally.
Right. And you can't be shy. You have to just stick the camera and take the picture, and really it's just a great experience to be able to travel around the world.
Wow, and you did this on small aeroplanes. I know that some of these places that you went to were pretty tough to get into. So talking about airplanes, what type of plane did you...
Trains, and automobies, and boats. And,
planes, trains, automobiles.
And canoes, and yeah.
I want to be married to you, Bob. I want to be married to Bob. And in a way also, talking about planes and automobiles, one of the things that you brought with you today is another great love of yours, which we have now for our viewers to see right in front of us. Tell us about what we're looking at.
Well, this is a radio control helicopter that basically will allow me to take aerial photography, something that I've always liked to do. I've done it a few times where I was hired an airplane and gone and shot photos. Maybe on assignment or myself, even just out of friends' planes and circling around. I'm the guy in the sky who's going around the circle at the same time around trying to get a friend's house in focus or whatever. So now this will allow me to fly at less than 500 feet altitude and be able to do both video and still photography.
Okay, so right now there's a camera loaded on there. Is that a video camera or?
Yeah, sorry, this is actually a still camera, and the still camera we'll take a digital photograph, and this is an 8 megapixel standard camera. This is a pretty standard camera, but the helicopter is large enough that it can handle that, plus any lenses that I want to add
and
to
how
it.
wide, when it's opened up, how big is the...
Yeah, about 2 meters.
2 meters?
Yeah, 6 feet or so.
All right, and there's some gadgets on the table here. These must be... tell us a little bit, because this is actually how you managed to get it up in the air and take the pictures.
Yeah, so basically the way it's set up now, this rig is someone would fly it, like I would fly it, for example, and then I would hopefully have one of my co-hosts take the photos for me with another controller that looks similar to this, and we would then coordinate. But basically the helicopter has a downlink, a video downlink, that allows them to see, whoever the photographer is, to be able to see the photos.
Okay.
And we're actually seeing some of it right now. So this is a shot when we did in Norway, and with a similar heli to this one, but it's a much different camera rig. This one will allow me to pan and tilt and zoom.
So this is why the sky has no limit for
Has
you.
no
You
limit.
can go anywhere, and actually I've never seen anything like this before, and I've never seen anyone fly it. So can we see you locally practicing?
You probably will, and there'll probably be some city ordinance about me not doing it. But,
well, we are, yes, true. This is Del Mar, there probably will be. But very, very interesting. And tell us a little bit, though, remote control aeroplanes are in fact a great love of yours. Is that how this camera apart?
Yeah, we decided last summer a good friend of mine invited me over to Norway, and another flying friend of mine came, and we decided to do basically a glider movie, a film about model gliders in Norway. Norway's just an amazing place to do that. Of course, all the fjords and everything else. And so we tried to shoot some aerial air-to-air photos and air-to-air video. And we realized that we had a long way to go to get a good shot. So that's kind of how this whole thing kind of came together.
So you are a true photographer on many levels, ground and sky. And actually, we're going to close very shortly and show some more of your photographs. Again, perhaps you could mention, what are these countries that you went to with National Geographic?
Okay.
What are they?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, some of the countries, because our viewers are going to be seeing some of these pictures again.
So, I mean, Papua New Guinea, Cambodia, India was a great stop. Burma, which is now Myanmar. We went to, oh gosh, I'm thinking now, Bhutan again.
Do you have a favorite place of all of these?
I think, Ingrid, the places are so different, and each one of them is so unique that they're all favorites. I mean, I would love to go back to Bhutan and India. I loved India. India is one of those places that you just tip of the iceberg just for a few weeks, and I'd just like to spend some more time there.
So travel and photography go hand in hand with you, and I guess this is not something you can take with you, the helicopter, on any trip.
No.
So the little camera is still number one.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so we're going to look at the pictures now, and then when we come back, we'll meet our next guest. Thank you so much, Bob. Our next guest is Laura Parker. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you,
And
Ingrid.
I'm so glad you made it on such short notice. I know you went to Kathmandu and Nepal, and this really was a dream of a lifetime. I want you to just tell me a little bit about how did you get to go, what made you want to go, and you know, just tell our viewers a little bit about probably a place that they've always wanted to go to.
Well, I was sitting around the pool one day at a friend's house, and I said I really wanted to travel, so we went through a travel and leisure magazine, and flipping through I saw a monastery in Bhutan where someone else had gone, and I thought, you know, I'm going to make a list of all the places I want to see in my lifetime, and the Himalayas, and Mount Everest was top of the list, so I booked a flight and went with my camera.
Of course, with your camera. And that's sort of, we're going to be seeing some of your photographs in a moment that you took while you were there. And maybe, can you start us out? Because you flew to, where did you start out? And then if you can just take us through the journey a little bit, that would be so good. And then when we look at the pictures, we can have a sense of where you were and what you were doing.
Well, it's a long trip to get there. You go Japan to Bangkok. Bangkok, you spend the night, and then you fly to Kathmandu. And from Kathmandu, you acclimate for a couple of days, and it's quite an acclimation process when you show up in Kathmandu.
Is it because of the altitude, or what?
Not really the altitude, it's just the culture, and just, I mean, Kathmandu is so congested, and every time you're driving, you just flinch at anyone coming in front of you. You think we're going to hit someone or something.
Is that many people?
Oh yeah, it's very congested, and anyways, my hope was to get to the mountains, so I was very happy when we got on the flight to a little town called Phaplu, which is about an hour's flight up into the mountains, and then we just hiked for 3 weeks.
When you say we, how many people were on this hike?
Not many. I went alone and met up with one guide from San Diego and another person from Laguna Beach. So there's 3 of us from the States, and then there were local guides.
So this was a private trip that was
Yes.
sort of planned ahead of time by the guide.
Yes.
So, and so where did you stay? What sort of places?
We stayed mainly at monasteries, and it was a wonderful experience. We stayed at one of the largest monasteries called Thibten Choling, and there the Trolshek Rinpoche, who's of the same level of Dalai Lama, was the guru that we spent time with, and it was an enlightening experience. And there we
That's
hiked
the dream of most people. The word enlightening seems to sort of be like, I would want to go and be enlightened in Nepal or Kathmandu.
And just staying with monks and nuns, and just seeing how they live every day, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, and the monks, they dress in these red robes. I saw some of the photographs that you took, and the children. I mean, everything always looks so beautiful. And Bob said, you can't take a bad picture. Is that true, or was it something you really thought about on the journey?
Well, I think I held up my group every day because all I wanted to do was take photos. And it was just, you take a step and you see a photo and you want to stop, and people were there to hike. I was probably the only one that really wanted to take photos, but at the end of the trip, they all wanted my photos, so it worked out well.
Yeah, and actually as part of our backdrop here today, we have your prayer flags. I have no idea what they really mean. Are they everywhere, these flags that are sort of behind us here as part of our backdrop?
Well, you find them mainly at the monasteries, but they are private residences as well, and they're blessed, and they're put up, and you actually put names of people that you know, and we hung several flags at the Thibten Choling Monastery.
Okay, so that's sort of something that one does, and I noticed that some of the images are also festives and you know, like sort of festivals that they have. Did you see anything special while you were there?
We went to the annual Mani Rimdu festival, which is
Mani Rimdu?
It's called the Mani Rimdu, and it's a 3-day festival, and it's supposed to rid you of all your demons, and it's a dancing, celebratory type festival, and it's run at a monastery that's vacant. And everyone comes from all over, from Tibet and from Kathmandu, and they hike in. So there's about 1,000 people there. It's amazing, and they're all in tents and
is there a lot of music? That some of the music that we've been playing during the show today has been some music from that area, I know.
Yeah.
And is it sort of in the monasteries, the music, or around and about?
Not really in the monasteries. Those are more horns and drums that they have. But yes, when you go into the towns, that music you hear a lot.
Yeah. It's very beautiful, beautiful pictures, and I think we all have this fantasy. Were you, before you went, was photography an important element? I mean, is this for memory? Is it for a keepsake? What made you be so thorough with your photography?
I've always I am a complete amateur photographer, not at all like my other guests here.
You are the snap shooter.
I am the snap shooter with my little Best Buy camera.
I think that's fantastic because
great.
Actually you probably do depict the majority of people. Most of us and most of the people watching the show are probably people like you. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm the same, but I'm always looking for that special shot, and I know perhaps Pete Fay later on will tell us about that, but that special shot, is there, were there lots of parts of the film that you threw out? I mean, or did you just keep everything?
Well, there were 700 photos, so I definitely didn't. When I did an actual book, and I went on a Photoshop album program and created a book, and it's a bound book, and there's maybe 60 shots in there, and those are my favorite shots, and that will be my keepsake of the entire trip.
That's amazing, and I know our viewers are going to go now and see more of your shots as we finish our discussion, and let them linger a little longer at being at Nepal and Kathmandu. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Ingrid.
We're with our last guest, Pete Fay. Pete, welcome to Travel and Photography and Producers Showcase. And amongst the 3 or 4 of us, really you are the true expert photographer, if you don't mind me saying so. No pressure. But you have been taking photographs pretty seriously for a while now. Tell me a little bit about the development of you as a photographer.
Yeah, quite a while, I guess. It started off casually as a snap shooter and so forth and so on, and then through various periods in my life when I started to hike and get into wilderness and so forth, I started to see some amazing sights, and I wanted to record those, and I came back with some of those, and I thought, gee, this is pretty good, and that whetted my interest to get even more seriously involved with photography, and slowly but surely started to upgrade some of my equipment and really work on my technique, so that in turn led me to the desire to perhaps show some of this work, print it and have it shown to see what kind of reactions I would get from these photographs, to see whether really to validate in some respect what I was doing. And all through that process, it got more serious, and from there I branched into initially nature photography through my hiking experience, and then gradually moved into other arenas such as scenics, cityscapes, and various scenes that interested me, and then the other aspect of the photography was later travel, both in the United States and then fairly extensively across the globe on all the continents, and those again always the camera at my side, and looking for opportunities and doing that. And aside from the travel, I find in terms of the materials that I have for source, that many pictures are actually can be found that are terrific, and they're right in your backyard.
And you know, we're going to see some of your photographs, aren't we? We're going to see a few minutes of these shots taken at different locations. I know we can't identify each picture, but our viewers will be looking at them now, and we can see these beautiful shots out in the desert or in the snow. Tell me what that must be like for you to just set that up. I mean, what sort of things, these scapes, I mean, are they all natural? I mean, some of them look like, how could there really be anything this beautiful? Are they in any way tampered with?
No, those are what they call straight shots.
They're straight shots. Amazing.
But nature really presents some amazing images if you work at it and find these places. Many of these are from the Colorado Plateau, which is a wonderland. But you do have to be there at the right time, the right light, and find these places. And
so would you say that a part of your nature has to be patience?
Absolutely. You have to work the light, you have to work the compositions, and frequently you have to get up very early to get first light, and the right kind of lighting is everything, and then you work the composition. And hopefully, finally, you come back with a few keepers, as you mentioned. And it's not just 1 in 100; it's 1 in several hundred.
Oh, really?
That cuts the mustard.
Right. So
typically,
these are the ones we're watching right now. Are some of the keepers, and I just find it amazing when you look at the colors and the textures. How long would one of these photographs take? I mean, I don't know if even you can answer that question. How many hours of sitting and waiting, or how many repeating times do you have to go to the same location? I mean,
well, it depends somewhat from shot to shot, obviously, but frequently a lot of patience is involved. But again, time constraints frequently don't permit that. But definitely in a shot like you're seeing right now, the timing is absolutely crucial. You get up before sunrise to catch first light, and that's what photographers are known for. They catch that last warm glow and the early light in the morning. When the angles are low and you get form and line and just coming together to create an image that is hopefully somewhat beyond.
Now, is there such a thing as a favorite image? I mean, I'm seeing so many different things.
You asked that question before.
Did I ask that question before? Because I always think, you know, as I look at each one, that probably each one is a favorite in its own way, is it?
It is in many respects, yeah. You know, these are all in some degree like children, you might say, and you know each one very intimately, and each one actually represents a story. I mean, I could go on each one of these and tell some tales, but
oh, I don't know. I think a tale would be good.
This is on Rhodes here, for instance, on the island of Rhodes in the Old City.
In the Old City. So we go from barns to the city and everything.
Well, my style is fairly eclectic, as you can see.
It is eclectic, and you know, we're going to have to come back to today, and I know there are some changes going on in your style and technique, some liberating features of the digital camera. So in the last few moments, if you could just talk about that for a second, and we only have a few moments, I'm sorry.
Well, I too switched to digital several years ago, and it is amazing photography. It's a giant revolution in the industry right now. Everybody's switching to digital, and it does really free up your photography. It allows you to experiment more. It allows you instant recall of what you have just shot. You can delete it and try it again. You can try it from a different angle. And then you have the wonderful possibilities of taking that work, editing it, and finally printing it yourself. So it's
a full experience.
It's a full experience,
to finish. Your
you control the product from start to finish, and that's wonderful.
I can imagine that would be very rewarding, because having taken the photograph, I wouldn't want to give it to anyone else to handle, having spent so much time doing it. At
exactly
least you
right.
know.
Exactly right. We used to chase around town to photo labs. Now I can do it in my digital darkroom.
So do you think photographs in the old way are a thing of the past? Do you think everyone will be eventually?
Not at all. I think there are many diehards. For one, I hate to use that term, but yes, conventional photography still has a lot to offer, and the amount of information that's contained currently in digital, in normal photography, is really more than most digital cameras can
Well,
achieve.
I'm just going to stop you a minute because we're going to go into a few more of your shots. I'm going to say thank you very much for your time and the beautiful pictures that you've brought to us in our journey. So we're going to let our viewers watch a few more, and then I'm afraid we have to close the show. So
Okay,
thank
great.
you very much.
Appreciate it.
Travel and photography has come to an end, and I hope you've enjoyed the journey around the globe with these wonderful images, truly very, very special. With thanks of Pete Fay, thank you so much for those images and your stories, and also you, Laura Parker. Nepal and Kathmandu's on my list, and Bob Bingham. Thanks very much, and if we see that helicopter flying around, we'll know that's you. So, yeah, we'll duck. Yeah, thanks so much, and I hope everybody's enjoyed the show as much as we have, and please come again to Producers Showcase. This is your host, Ingrid Hoffmeister.
There is a place where a total stranger will give you their blood. A place where someone you never knew will save your child from drowning. Where a person who doesn't look like you, talk like you, or dress like you will give you shelter after a flood. That place is called America, where we look out for each other. When you help the American Red Cross, you help America.